Hi, 7th grade. This is Mrs. C, your visual content specialist. Today we're going to be using a strategy called Cornell Notes in order to organize what we learn from a resource, such as a text or a video, and to make connections between what we know and what we are learning. Using this strategy, you'll be able to support your visual processing, develop background knowledge, and build connections on topics you learn in the 7th grade. So what are Cornell Notes? Cornell Notes is a note-taking strategy that helps us organize what we see and read in different resources. It also allows us to understand and make connections between different ideas. In order to use Cornell Notes effectively, we need to do three things. One, we need to read or watch a resource carefully and in parts. Not the whole thing at once, or else we won't give ourselves time to understand what's going on. We need to do it in chunks. Two, we need to identify important information. And three, write down details and key terms, followed by a summary of the resource. Here we see two different ways to take Cornell Notes. They're very, very similar. Let's start with the model that we see on the left. So as you can see, the first thing that you're going to do is write down your date. The date is very important because then you can refer back to very specific notes when you're trying to answer a question or write down an essay or some sort of extended response. Then you're going to provide a title. The title is very important because then you will know exactly what kind of notes you are taking. Then you're going to divide your paper into three sections. 1, 2, 3. And you're kind of making like a T-chart, but with a very low horizontal line, like this. So you're going like this and dividing your paper. On the margin on the left, you're going to leave that space for keywords or important vocabulary and any questions that pop up for you when you're using the resource. On the right-hand side, which is the larger portion of your paper, this is where you're going to take quick notes, make abbreviations, and write down key thoughts and takeaways that you have while reviewing your resource. On the bottom, you want to leave about maybe 3 to 4 lines so that you can provide a summary about the resource that you just used or about the topic that you just learned. Here on the right-hand side, we see the same structure, although it's a little bit longer, and it asks for an essential question. The essential question is very important, especially when we're learning something new in a unit, because it can be used as a guiding question. It helps us understand what kind of notes we are actually looking to take. So a great opportunity that you have to practice taking Cornell Notes is in Unit 2, Day 12 of Passport to Social Studies, where we explore different resources in order to learn about the establishment and role of the first English colonies. And then once you have explored these resources, you would have to answer a question. So let's practice what this Cornell Note strategy would actually look like for Unit 1, Day 12, titled The First English Colonies. And these are the resources that we are provided with, that we need to look at and study and take notes down on. We're going to be looking at this text resource, Colonial America, Lost Colony of Roanoke, in the resource Ducksters. So this is the lesson, Unit 1, Day 12. And this is our resource that we're using. So what I want to do is first look at the title, Colonial America, Lost Colony of Roanoke. That's going to tell me what it is that I'm taking notes about. So here we can write down either the title or an essential question. For example, I can create my own guiding question, such as, what was the lost colony of Roanoke? And that's what I'm going to do. What was the lost colony of Roanoke? And this question is going to help me understand what it is that what kind of information I'm looking for. Because I want the most accurate information possible. Roanoke Colony was the first attempt by the English to establish a colony in the Americas. Unfortunately, the colony failed when the settlers disappeared under mysterious circumstances, giving the colony the nickname Lost Colony. Ooh, so that's our first piece of information. And I see that I can write down a key term, which is colony. And one of the first pieces of information I see is that the English created a colony in Roanoke, but it disappeared mysteriously. We don't know what happened to it. It's very important to know. Let's keep reading and see if we can get any more information. Where was the colony located? So now we're looking at where. The Roanoke colony was located on Roanoke Island off the coast of North Carolina. The land was considered part of Virginia at the time. That's important information. So the Roanoke Island colony was located in Roanoke Island by North Carolina. Right, North Carolina, yep, North Carolina. Now, after I've read my whole resource completely, that's when I'm going to provide a summary. And the summary is going to be about what this resource was mostly about. So after I've read what I needed to read of this article, my summary will say something like, the English tried to create a colony in the Americas, but it disappeared. This was called the Roanoke Colony. And of course, I only read a small portion of the text just to give you guys an example of how we can use this Cornell Notes strategy to help us build our understanding on a resource. So remember, in order to use Cornell Notes effectively, you need to do 3 things. You need to read or watch your resource carefully and in parts by dividing up the reading or dividing up the way that you're watching a video resource. You're giving yourself time to process and understand what it is that you're watching. Next, we need to identify important information such as who, what, when, where, why, and how. So when you're analyzing a resource, remember to ask yourself the 5 W's and an H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And finally, we need to write down details and key terms followed by a summary of the resource. Basically, you're asking yourself, what was this resource all about?